We're back with listener questions all hour. This is your show, folks. You get to ask me any and every financial question you have. You go to the youtube.com/Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. All you have to do really is go to youtube.com, type in the financial quarterback in the search menu, Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. And basically, you'll see my ugly mug, hit the subscribe button, and you get to watch the over 148 videos that we have. And you get to ask me any question in the chat box, and we'll answer it. But first, we're going to go to our listener questions at 800-321-0710. Go ahead, Mary.
I would like to know, if a stock splits and you own it, do you really gain anything?
Are stock splits good or bad?
Yes.
Well, splits are often a bullish sign, since valuations, this from Investopedia, get so high that the stock may be out of reach for smaller investors. So it's a way for you to kind of like, they do it with Apple. Kept getting high and they keep splitting it. Did that with Tesla. So investors who own a stock that splits may not make a lot of money immediately, but they shouldn't sell the stock just because it's split. I mean, in reality, it's worth the same whether it's split versus when it didn't. You know what I'm saying?
But then you have more stocks, and then the stock go up. Eventually, the stock will go back up. So wouldn't you gain by getting more stock?
Theoretically.
That's what I think.
Could be a sign of the top, though. I mean, meaning it really doesn't. It doesn't matter, except it might allow smaller investors to get in, which would be a bullish sign. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It could also be a sign of a top, though.
So when Apple was going to split, they kind of notified everybody. So then my question is, if I didn't own Apple stock, which I did not, unfortunately, and then you heard it was going to split, and then there was a dip in the market, and then you bought the Apple stock, and then the market came back, wouldn't you make out that way or no?
You could. Depends. It just, generally it's thought of to be a bullish sign, which is good for the stock.
In your opinion, is Apple a good stock? I think it is. It keeps going up.
Well, it has been a great long-term holding of the last, but long-term depends. If you bought Apple stock, that lost decade they had in the 90s, that depends. Depends if they keep innovating, right? That's the key. Will a company keep innovating? Think about Microsoft, right? It was the stock of the 90s and then did nothing from 2000 to 2010. The last decade has been very good for both Microsoft and Apple, but it doesn't mean the next decade will. But as far as the stock split, it's thought of to be a bullish sign, but it's really like if you have a $10 bill and I give you 2 5s, it's the same thing.
Oh.
It's not like, it's not supposed to be bullish. In the case of Apple, though, it was very bullish because now everybody who wanted to buy in could afford it, or before they couldn't. It was getting too attainable. It's like Amazon. Amazon's $3,000 a stock. They may inevitably split because people go, wow, buying some Amazon too expensive. That was maybe a bad idea that they didn't split. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, but, Amazon still went up. So, so it really was irrelevant. But in the case of Apple, I think it's really smart because it allows regular people. I don't know how many splits they've had. They've had a ton. So, and it probably would have been good for Amazon to split. But, generally splits are thought of to be bullish and reverse splits are thought of to be negative, even though theoretically it's the same dollar amount. A reverse split is when you have 2 $5 bills become 110. So it's one of these things where it doesn't matter, but like you're right in saying it's probably more of a positive thing for sure. So any other questions, Mary?
No, thank you so much, Josh.
Great call. And next up, we have Bob. Trusts for IRAs. Go ahead, Bob.
Good morning, Josh. I have a question. Can a testamentary trust be set up as the beneficiary of an IRA? Since the trust doesn't really exist until the person's death, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I don't know. Why would you want to do that?
So that my minor grandchildren would not receive large lump sums of money. We would want it distributed at certain ages.
But they have the 10-year rule. Unless they're minor children of the new Secure Act. Yeah, that's not something you should do just lightly, because it may trigger income taxes when the money goes into the testamentary trust. It may be better to just leave them as the beneficiary on the account.
Why would it generate the tax when it went into the trust?
Well, because
wouldn't it be the same as if it went to the individual child's name?
No, when you go to an IRA, when an IRA cannot be owned by a trust. Now, there are IRA trusts. There's a whole, you need a good financial advisor. You need a good attorney to set it up right, what you're trying to do. It's not as easy as one might make it, especially with the Secure Act. Does that make sense?
Yes, I know the Secure Act complicates it a lot.
The reasons to name a trust are generally to control and manage post-death IRA distributions. They were more necessary when there was the stretch. You could do what's called the multi-generational IRA trust. You can still do that with the Secure Act, but it is much more cumbersome. But, a testamentary trust, the trust would have to have certain provisions. It has to qualify as what's called a see-through trust in order for it to be counted for what you're trying to do.
Okay, so there is a different kind of a trust, which is an IRA trust, and I should investigate that.
To be clear, people call it different things. So, and the rules before the Secure Act pass versus after, there's conduit trusts, there are discretionary trusts, there are different types of IRA trusts. There's a whole host of issues with IRAs and trusts that I don't want to bore people. But basically, the reasons to name a trust would be to ensure the 10-year stretch, or if they're really young, where they could take advantage of the new Secure Act. You could fund charitable bequests. You could secure state estate tax exemptions. The reasons not to name a trust are complexity, many tax rules to follow, costly to create and maintain, annual tax returns and administration, high trust tax rates, no separate account rules, and required minimum distributions are based on the shortest life expectancy typically. So the benefits of the see-through or look-through trust, which is what you need an IRA to be, this from Ed Slott had a nice document, which was a few years ago. So I would get it, I would call us at 888-988-JOSH for the review. And then we would try to get you in touch with an attorney whose specialty is this. You just don't want to go to your run-of-the-mill attorney, though, because if it's handled improperly, if the trust receives the IRA assets, you could get hit with a big tax, or your heirs could get hit with a big tax, and it kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, Josh.
So I hope that helps. The benefits of the see-through trust is that it allows the oldest of the individual trust beneficiaries to be treated as if he or she were named directly. If the trust does not qualify, and this is where it can be tricky, if the trust does not qualify as a see-through trust, then the IRA will be treated as if there was no beneficiary, and the post-death payout will not be based on a beneficiary's life expectancy. It will be based on the rules that apply when there's no beneficiary designated. And the Secure Act changes that. So in some cases, it may be just better to name the grandkids, and there is a risk there. You don't want minors to piss away the money. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying after the Secure Act, it's way more complicated than it used to be. Next up, we have Monica. Go ahead, Monica. You're on with Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. And folks, if you have a question, our whole hour is devoted to your questions at 800-321-0710. Go ahead, Monica.
Good morning, Mr. Josh. How is my son doing today?
Good morning.
My baby son. How is he doing?
Well, we'll see. Yeah. Pray for my baby. Still in the hospital.
Yes.
So.
How is he doing?
He's doing. We got to pray he holds his temperature. He can breathe on his own and eat on his own. That's what we got to pray for. So.
Good. Amen.
Yeah, he's alive. Thank God. So thank you. You're a sweetheart.
Thank you. Anyway, my question is, why can I get one of those institutional low interest rates? Because I went to bank rate, it's 5% and 6%, and the interest rate is like 2 and 3. Why can I get one of those low interest rates and also a low car interest rate for car loan also?
You want a low interest rate for a home refinance and a car refinance, or what?
No, not for home. I just for personal loan.
Well, personal loan rates, I looked the other day, and we're not recommending you buy or sell anything. Did you go to bankrate.com?
Yes, I did.
Somebody was telling me personal. Number one, you Google personal loan rates. Best personal. Well, I'm going to Google it right now, see if I find best. I think one of the Republic banks has one, something I saw at like 2.25 or something. No, I'm
really?
not. I'm looking. There's a bunch. SoFi is 5.99 right now for their personal loan. I saw something else. Somebody just said Navy Federal Credit is 1.79. That's not bad. Check Navy Federal. Although you might, I don't know, if you need to be. There was one of these banks that somebody was telling me. Lending Tree rates as low as 2.49 they're offering. Nerd Wallet has some rates. Marcus by Goldman. There's if you do best personal loans of August 2021 as your search term, you should find stuff. They're ranging, it looks like, from about 2.5 to about 5.99 if you have decent credit. It's a company called Lightstream that's offering something, but we're not recommending you buy or, I don't know and can't speak or vouch for any of these people. I'm just trying to help our listeners. There was some bank, I want to say like Republic Bank or something. You could also get a loan against your portfolio if you have stocks. We were finding rates in the 1.79 range where you could get a loan against your portfolio. That comes with certain risks, like if the stock market goes down, you might have to have a margin call. But there's a lot you could do in today's low interest rate environment. But you're right. It used to be you could get a personal loan so easy. And now they jacked the rates up. You know why? That's because of all the credit card. And the credit card industry told us this. They said they passed all these, supposedly consumer protection laws that forced credit card companies to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know about you, but credit cards are still charging a lot of interest. But what they did is they stopped a lot of the ways for normal people with good credit to get very low rates. So you got to shop around a whole lot more. And so as far as car loans, you may want to check your local credit union.
Okay.
So a credit union usually gives you a fair rate. And also check your credit card company. And there's a lot of places right now that are offering really low rates that you may want to take advantage of. So we have to, any other questions, Monica? This was fun.
I'm also, anyway, it's a long question, but I have nothing to do. Where can I go? I want to steal Capital One Bank because I have a credit of 850, and because I always pay my bill all in full, it doesn't matter what the amount.
Sure.
And I used to have a Capital One bank. I was with them for like 10 years, 15 years. I never missed a payment. And then I didn't use my card for a long time because they did something that I was uncool. You know, it was their fault one time. And so I said, okay, forget it. I'm not going to use it anymore. So I didn't use the card for like a year. And all that time that I have like a 21,000 or 22,000 miles with them. So, and recently I said, let me check to see if I can clear the miles. And then when I went there, they said my account has been deleted. And I called and I said, why? What they told me is we deleted your account because you are delinquent. I almost went through the roof. Me, delinquent, for what? So because of that, I lost my amount.
Well, what you could do is challenge that with the credit agencies. So get a copy of your credit report, and if there's anything negative on your credit report, you can dispute that. So I hope that helps you, Monica. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for watching on the YouTube. So folks, go to youtube.com and search for Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. And up next, we have more of your questions at 800-321-0710. And thanks for caring about the baby with the baby update. We got Monica with the baby update. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jelinski Advisory Group. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and Top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jelinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at www.jelinski.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to affect transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jelinski and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.